Good morning everyone, and welcome back to another video. So as you can probably tell, we are not in the comfort of my home today. Earlier this week I posted this photo to my Instagram, and in the caption I talked about how it had been a really long time since I came out to do outdoor photography. And according to my photos, the last time I came out to do outdoor nature photography, and that was December 16th. I've been in a bit of a slumber and a bit of a rut in that I haven't felt all that inspired or motivated to come out and do photography. And one really big reason for that is that the weather tends to be really, I guess, dull and gray in Kelowna, and I kind of forgot about this fact when we moved back. It's really affected my mood this year, and things just are not very inspirational to me. So last week I decided to come out. I made a commitment that I was going to come out, but what ended up happening is I came out to Gyro Beach and I ended up loving a lot of other things about the beach. So because it had recently snowed, you saw all of these bird tracks in the snow, and then because the lake was so calm that day that you actually saw complete reflections surrounding the lake. And then every now and then you can hear these geese flocking, and so I'm listening for them today because that's why I came out to Gyro Beach today, is I wanted to try and do some more bird photography. So yeah, there was just a lot of features about being out at the lake in winter that I ended up falling back in love with. So I've come out like 3 times this week, which is crazy, to do some photography by the lake. And one of the things that I've really been loving, something new and something challenging to do that I didn't really do a lot in the spring or the summer, which I probably should have, and that was bird photography. That's why I came out to Gyro Beach today, and that's why I'm bringing you too. But one of the things that I really wanted to talk about in today's video as well was sort of dressing for winter photography, because I don't think I put enough of an emphasis on this back in December when it started to hit winter for me. And I think that was one of the reasons why I hit my sort of rut, my slumber. So we're gonna also chat about dressing for winter photography, because I think it is huge and I want to prevent, you know, the experience that I had for you. So let's get into it. Talking about the last time that I came out to do outdoor photography, it was December 16th, and I specifically remember I went out to photograph the Tree of Hope because I was doing that shaped bokeh video, and I had created those stencils to kind of photograph Christmas lights differently. And so I went out to do that, and I remember it was kind of a slushy rain that night, and when I got out there it wasn't quite raining, but about 5 minutes in it started doing this like slushy rain, and I just remember being absolutely soaked by the time I was done doing photography, by the time I was done photographing the Tree of Hope for my shaped bokeh. And I was walking back to the vehicle just being completely soaked and actually slightly frustrated because everything was wet. Like my camera was wet, my shoes were wet, my feet were wet, my clothes were wet. Like I was just like drenched and really uncomfortable and cold. And I remember coming home, and it took me hours. Like it probably took me 3-4 hours to warm up after photographing the Tree of Hope, even with a hot shower, because like that's just how cold I was, and it was so uncomfortable. And I just remember telling my fiance that I didn't like doing winter photography, and that was the last time that I went out to do outdoor photography. And so I think along with, you know, the weather has been dull and gray in Kelowna, there's also the topic of I just don't love that feeling of being absolutely drenched. I don't love the feeling of being cold and coming home and having to spend hours warming up literally under 5 blankets because I just can't do it. So I wanted to chat about some things that have recently made coming back out to do outdoor photography just slightly more okay and enjoyable. I will admit to you that, you know, the weather in Kelowna, it's super mild compared to what I used to live in, but there's still like a degree of an enjoyment from being cold. So one of the items that have really made coming back out to do outdoor photography enjoyable or more enjoyable is having a really comfortable warm pair of boots. So at Christmas time, I was gifted a pair of Tom boots, but these boots, they are waterproof. They do have this high traction outsole, they have a comfortable insole, and it doesn't really matter what brand of boot you're gonna buy or what brand of boot you have. Just get a really comfortable pair of shoes or boots, whatever it is, that are gonna keep your feet like dry and warm and comfortable when you're outside doing photography. And I did not do this before. So before Christmas, I was just wearing a pair of like pink sneakers that I had, and I've had these for years, and that's just what I used. And of course in the summer it was fine because it's summer, but as we started going into fall and winter, it started becoming like less okay to wear outside. But I didn't have any other pair of shoes, and I didn't want to go out and buy myself a pair of shoes, and so I kind of just went with wearing, oh, I hear geese. Where are they coming from? They're coming from the left. I hear geese, but I can't see. This is the problem too, is I have to listen for the geese because I can't see them. I'm not blind, but I definitely don't have the greatest sight, so I just can't see them from far away, but I hear them. Okay, maybe not, but I don't know where I was. But just get yourself a really comfortable pair of boots or shoes. So I should have bought myself a pair of boots earlier, because I think that would have prevented this sort of slumber, this sort of rut that I've been in. Alright, so the geese don't seem to be flying overhead at Gyro right now, so I'm going to stay here just a little bit longer to see what happens, and then I think I'm gonna go walk down to Rotary Beach and see if the ducks are out. But before we go, another item that has made a huge difference in me also wanting to get out and do outdoor photography is a winter jacket. Now this might surprise you that when I was living in Fort McMurray, where it would hit -50, I didn't ever have a proper winter jacket, and I never properly had one when I moved back to Kelowna. And although it's a lot more milder, it still is chilly. So another item that was gifted to me at Christmas was, it's the Patagonia down sweater jacket, I think is what it's called. Again, it doesn't really matter what jacket you have or what jacket you're gonna buy to do your outdoor photography, but just get yourself a really good winter jacket that's gonna make coming out to do outdoor photography nicer for you. And that's another item that I wish I had bought for myself before December, because I think if I had the proper shoes, I think if I had the proper jacket, like the proper gear, not just like my photography gear, but proper gear to go out, I think it would have been a lot more comfortable, and I might have been able to kind of misstep the slumber and the rut that I put myself in. So I think it's like kind of an important lesson in that, not only to focus on buying photography gear, but also look at other gear that's outside of your camera that is going to make also the experience more enjoyable and the experience better. And that's something that I wish I had done before December. Now, in the entire time that I've been sitting here, the geese have not really flocked over. So what I think I'm gonna do is, I think I'm gonna pack up and go to Rotary. And then one more item that I want to talk about regarding dressing for winter photography. Alright, so I'm just here at Rotary Beach now. The ducks do seem to be out currently, but they just don't seem to be as active as they were the other day. So the other day when I came out, they were really like fluttering their wings a lot. So I noticed that every time they like jacked their head into the water, and they would do it repeatedly. When the last time they came out, they would like spread their wings and flutter them a bit. So they were doing that the other day. They don't seem to be as active today. I don't really know a lot about duck behavior, bird behavior, so I really couldn't say. But doing some bird photography, intentionally coming out to do some bird photography, has been a nice and refreshing way to fall back in love with coming outdoors, especially in the winter, to do photography, since I've been in this a bit of a slumber. So it has been really nice that there has been a focus outdoors that I've wanted to come out intentionally to do, which I think is maybe an important part of getting out of that sort of slumber, getting out of that rut. I know, you know, bird and geese, like, they don't seem, for any of you bird photographers that photograph unique birds, exotic birds, you know, eagles and stuff like that, I know they probably don't sound the most interesting, but we are kind of still in the middle of winter here in Kelowna, so it's the best that I can do when it comes to bird photography. I am really looking forward to the spring and the summer when baby birds come out and all of the baby animals come out, and photographing all of them. So it has been nice that I've been able to come back out to do outdoor photography, and I've talked about the first two things that have really helped me in getting back outdoors, and that is having proper pair of shoes and then having a winter jacket. So I think that a third thing that has also really helped with getting back out to do photography is, it sounds really simple, but before in December when I would come out to do photography, I oftentimes wouldn't wear gloves. And it was for the main reason that I struggle with using my phone if I'm wearing gloves, and then I have limited control over my camera. So I always made the choice to not wear gloves when I would go out and do photography, but that just ends up with you having really cold hands. And even though the temperature is mild here in the Kelowna area, it is still, like, if you're outside for 2 hours, your hands are still going to get cold. And so I always chose not to wear gloves when I went out to do photography back in December. But then now, like, recently coming back out now to do photography, even if it's just slightly above zero and it's really not that cold and I could totally go out without wearing gloves, I have made the conscious choice to always put on gloves, even if it restricts my camera mobility. But there's little things like that, little things like having the proper pair of shoes, having a proper jacket, wearing gloves, wearing a hat, or little things like that go really a long way when it comes to just making the experience of your photography more enjoyable. And I think that was one of also a main reason why I stopped coming out to do outdoor photography, is that the experience was no longer enjoyable for me, especially during the winter months where it's cold and it's gray and it's dull. The experience wasn't there for me. So anything that I can do right now to make the experience more enjoyable, to come out and do photography, is huge. So that's something that I never really thought of until after Christmas, until after I recently started coming back out to do photography, is just how much making myself comfortable and making the experience worth it, you know, how important that is. Alright everyone, so I'm gonna wrap up this video here now. I might go and try to get a little bit more of some bird photos. There's some people at the beach, so I don't really know how that's going to affect the birds, but I'm gonna see what else I can get. But I really hoped you enjoyed today's video. I know it's not talking about a lot, it's just talking about, you know, outdoor photography, dressing for the weather, and making the experience more enjoyable, but I do think it is an important part. And like I said, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.